Hello. I've had a couple of nurses that have said, do you just scoop them out? Well, no, it's a sterile surgical procedure that's very carefully done. Important to get that into the fridge.
Eye donation is something that people can do if they're aged 75 years or younger in BC after they pass away. Through the eye donation, they can provide transplants to up to 8 people.
So this is what it looks like when we receive it from the recovery tech. And we'll actually take a look at this tissue. At this point now, we're looking at tissue suitability, looking at the layers of the cornea. Are there any scars? Are there any damage to the tissues? Is there any dystrophies that might exclude it from transplant? Once we do that, and we deem it to be suitable for transplant, then we'll bring it into the biological safety cabinet, and we'll do the corneal preservation. So this was a tissue that was frozen for research and teaching purposes. So because this eye was frozen before, it's lost pressure, so it's kind of floppy. So I'm just removing any extraneous muscle or tissue. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll up the eye in the gauze so that I can remove the cornea. There's a protective sheath around the cornea called the conjunctiva. I'm just going to scrape it down. So I'm going to make an incision about 2 millimeters away from the limbus, which is the edge of the cornea, and then just slowly turn the eye. It doesn't have to be too precise, but if it's too narrow, it could cause problems if we're processing the tissue later on. You don't want to get too close to the limbus so as to damage the tissue. You want to just have a nice, even rim around. So here I'm going to actually remove the corneal disc by just teasing away the iris.
Eyes can be uncomfortable for people to consider donating. I think it's helpful for them to know a few things. One is that we don't transplant the whole eye. It is just the cornea, which is that clear lens at the front of the eye, or the white part of the eye, the sclera. Because often people say, I'm concerned I'll recognize my loved one's eyes, and you won't. We're not using the colored part at all, the iris.
So this is the iris that I'm pulling back here. What I'm doing is I'm just verifying the presence of a lens. So that's the lens. We'll put it into a viewing chamber like this. This solution is called Optizol. Essentially, it's a preservative to maintain the viability of the tissue for up to 2 weeks. From the date of death, we have up to 2 weeks to do all that we need to do in order to release the tissue for transplant.
People are always curious about it once you start talking about it. They think it's cool, and it is. They don't know that people can have their cornea transplanted and they can see again, and maybe that's somebody who wasn't able to drive or they couldn't work, and now they're back working, they've got their license back, they're back to full life without any impairment to their vision. So it's amazing.